I'll be presenting today the research and the findings, facts and recommendations that I found while researching expansion into the Chinese marketplace. For expansion success through facts and recommendations, I promise you that if you engage in this and you understand this, it will put you in a much better place and prepare you for success in the Chinese marketplace. What is it first? We'll discuss what are the social norms, what kind of personas do businessmen and women portray, what is family life like, what is the religion like, what is the education and curriculum like, and how do those things compare to that of the U.S., what things are traditionally valued the most, what is the most commonly practiced religion in China, all things that we're going to discuss in today's presentation, and they're all important. They're all equally important to understand, to engage, and to learn in the expansion of our company, which is All Sports Association, into China. So what you should know is that China is it's a country in the continent of Asia. It is run by a single campaign party, political party, which is communism, and that is a dictatorship which is under the authority of one man or one woman. Mandarin is the primary language spoken in China, with respect to other secondary languages spoken as well. And many businesses in China and firms and locations that they are run locally, but also many of them are run through the government or through the city or the state. And also Chinese marketplace is just very aggressive and competitive, and they live and die by the business, and they are a powerhouse for export. And so some social norms that you need to know, so language can be a huge barrier. Like I said, the primary language is Mandarin in the country of China, and not knowing this language, this is the primary means of communication upon this country. The first thing going into this country is knowing the language. You can't do business without being able to communicate effectively. Greetings are a lot similar to here. The only thing I'd say that's a little bit different is a bow. In a formal setting, they'll ask that you bow for someone in the power or authority. There's handshakes, maintain eye contact. Greetings are informational, familiar, they're not ambiguous and ritualistic. They like things to be straightforward and to the point. Gestures. There's a lot of the gestures that are informal and that may be disrespectful are the same that are in the U.S. So you'll be able to tell what is disrespectful, what's not respectful. Just things like not shaking their hands, not maintaining eye contact, weird facial expressions, fidgeting, things of that nature. So family life. So family life, it's different. It varies on which region you live on in China. If you live in northern China, they really value family above all else. So it's most similar to that of the United States of America. If you live in southern Chinese cities such as Fujian or Guangdong, they will value work above all else. Work is a very competitive and very fierce thing in southern China, and that's what they value. That's where the money source comes from, and that's where a lot of the heavy business comes from. And so they do that above all else. The range of salary you can expect, at least for Americans, a bit of a decrease when we get over there because we're used to a certain amount, but when they get over there, the cost of living is a little bit lower, so they make a little bit less. China is a powerhouse for export. That's their main thing, and so anyone in that business has potential to make a lot of money. And the more experience you have in a given area, and the more bilingual you are, which is a very marketable trait in China, it depends, the more you will make. And that leads us to work days. Typical Chinese workers work 2,100 hours in a year, which is roughly 44 hours a day, which is 4 hours above the average in the United States of America. So they work a little bit more, and it's kind of taking a toll. They're starting to get complaints about work pressures and family obligations and religious obligations and working too much and not enough sleep and things of that nature. But it's not all bad. Technology is heavily increasing in the country of China, and that is making them work less and produce more, but getting paid more. So it's not all bad. It's on the upside. So be aware of the technology standpoint. Next is we have attitudes. The attitudes, personas in the workforce in the country of China. It's always formal in a business setting. I think sometimes in the United States we'll become comfortable with our coworkers, and sometimes our bosses will get a little bit informal and casual. That's not the case in China. They always treat everyone in the business setting with the utmost respect. Anytime anyone walks in a room, they bow, they shake hands, things of that nature. Religion, I think this is a big one in Chinese culture, and it is a dictatorship, so there are only 5 religions that the dictator has passed down as registered religions that you may practice openly and freely in the Chinese constitution. And those include Buddhism, Catholicism, Taoism, Protestantism, and Islam. If it's not within those five, then that is to the extent in which it is not tolerated. At home, in the workforce, anywhere. And so China is a dictatorship. They must obey the dictator. So if it's anything outside of what the dictator has put in place, they'll be punished for it. There's no tolerance outside of that, and it leads to some personal and some family conflicts. When you're at work in a business setting and you're wanting to practice something outside of these five religions, but they want to obey the Chinese constitution. But it's not tolerated. So dress code's pretty strict in China. Men wear suits, women wear likewise female suits or pencil skirts. It's very formal. They like to be portrayed as this Oriental formal culture, and so that's how they like to dress as well. But this could also cause problems in terms of religion. If certain religion you're forced to wear a certain thing on your head or on your body, but you need to wear a suit or a pencil skirt to work, but that doesn't, that's too much, then it could be a problem because that's what you need to wear. And if you don't wear it, you will be fired. So there's some conflicts in terms of dress code, which that leads me to education. Education is among one of the most important things in China. The curriculum is pretty much the same. It's a universal curriculum across multiple countries, including the U.S. It's just the approach is a little bit different. Here in the U.S., we emphasize comprehensive knowledge, and by the end of a term, by the end of a course, we will understand comprehensively what we have learned. Versus China is a little bit different. Every test score matters, and the teachers get quotas and they get bonuses if their students get good test grades, and each test score is accounted for these Chinese students. And what I mean by that is their test scores determine their future. Their academics dictate their future. If they have good grades, they go to good middle schools and high schools and hopefully college. And if they don't have that opportunity to go. So that's a major thing. Academics dictates their future. And language in schools is fortunately, obviously they teach Mandarin as the primary language, but also they teach other languages. And parents in China are very engaged in terms of language because at home they help practice the Mandarin and the secondary languages because that's where they have most of the interactions and interpersonal communication. So the parents help a heavy load on that. So that brings me to values. Values based on religion, depending on your region, like I said, northern China, they value family a lot more, but southern Fujian and Guangdong, they value the southern, they value family more. And so, like I said, if anything gets in the way of their work in the south, they'll push it aside and they'll get work because that's how they provide for their families. And so all in all, I think that being familiar with these concepts and these norms and these social things and culture and the environment of the Chinese nation will prepare you for success in the Chinese marketplace. Things like social norms, family life, attitude in a business setting, values, education, religion under a dictatorship. I think that those are all important concepts to really grasp and understand. And if I were to recommend a few things before our expansion to China, it would just be one, implement a language program. This is our primary means for communication in the language of Mandarin with respect to other languages in the Chinese culture. So I think first and foremost we need to be fluent. We need to be able to communicate. 99% of problems come from communication or lack of that. So I think becoming fluent will put us in a great position to be successful in our expansion to China. 2, inquire knowledge about China. All these things that we just discussed, these are great things to know and understand, but go get the knowledge you need, learn, understand, seek to understand, and really just learn this thing so when we go there, we feel comfortable in our own environment where we feel comfortable to be successful as a business. 3, maintain an open mind. These things are not things of the United States. This is a different country, different culture. Refrain from ethnocentrism. This means being open-minded in their culture, in their ways. And if there's no right or wrong, there's only our way and there's their way. So be open-minded and begin to practice those things so that we can be successful as a company. And finally, financially prepare for revenue decrease and economic loss, because the Chinese marketplace is extremely vigorous, extremely forceful, competitive, brutal, just reckless economy. They're a powerhouse for export and it's very competitive and it's just brutal. And so just prepare for the revenue decrease and economic loss and to be